Hey everyone, today I got this 244-79 model in and I'll be lifting it. I already lifted a Volvo 940, my own, to test my kit out and it works like a charm. The car handles great, all the way up to 180 kilometers an hour. Above that the car feels a bit unstable, but 180 kilometers an hour with a lifted Volvo, which is lifted like 10 to 12 centimeters, it's absolutely awesome. And I'm also currently working on some other spaces for the front that space the entire strut assembly from the top down. And that means that you can't fit a really large tire, but you can fit two 15-70-14s. They are pretty big as well, and you don't have to cut or weld anything. On a 940, the side where it bolts down, so it bolts down the spring, is on the top, but here it's on the bottom, but otherwise it's exactly the same. So probably the spring spaces will fit. And that's the first thing we're going to do. After that, we also need to cut the fenders, because on a 240, 235s, 70s, 15s really don't fit. You will see it in a minute.
This component here holds the spring down and you need to remove the stud out of it with the vise. That way we can install the spring, the spacer and the longer bolt.
On the 940 lift kits, the stock shock is more than enough because it really can extend quite a lot. But on the 240, I've noticed that the shocks are pretty short and we need to lengthen them. But thankfully, I already designed shock spacers in AutoCAD. The metal will come in 2 days and then I'll be welding up some shock mounts. And now let's move on to the front, extend the front struts and then see if the tires will fit. On the front they probably will, but on the rear they definitely aren't going to fit because 235, 70s, 15s, this side isn't going to fit.
And now we've come to the point of no return. Get yourself a hose clamp to get 100% straight cuts, because now we're cutting up the strut. Once you've cut it up, add a section of tubing with the exact same dimensions, and the length you can decide what you want to do. I always choose 76 mil, so 3 inches. I'm lifting the entire strut 3 inches. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, on this side I got the alignment wrong. I didn't mark it, which I normally always do, so I had to cut the strut again, weld it again, and then it was fine. What you see here is I'm dropping in a spacer for the original shock. That way you can use the original shock. Once you got the entire strut assembly in, you'll notice that the sway bar needs to be lowered as well. You can do that with these sway bar spacers. Just install them with the longer bolts and you're all done. Man, these tires are really heavy and beefy looking. Now it's time to move on to the rear. The shock spacers arrived. Make sure to get one on the outside, one on the inside. That way you can drill a hole and get the alignment 100% right. Once you've drilled the hole, install one bolt or two if you can, but one will suffice. What you will notice during install is that the sleeves, which space out the shock bolts, aren't fitting anymore, so cut them like 1 centimeter shorter and then they will fit between the spacers, the shock and the bolt. And then the finished result will look something like this and you can utilize all of the original parts. Next up, get yourself a tape measure, measure the diameter of the wheel, or actually the radius, and transfer that radius from the sander over to your fender and you know exactly what to cut. And if you have a nice car, this is going to hurt, so make sure you get the right size of tire for the shape your car is in.
Like a 205-70-14, those will just fit, but the 235-70s, 15s, they are way too big. It requires a lot of metal to be cut off, and after that I also need to weld it. This one also has a bit of rust, but I'm only going to weld it shut because the owner wants to address the rust later on. So for now I need to clean it to bare metal, then weld it shut. And the owner also dropped off some larger springs. The original ones were lowering springs, he didn't know that. So now I'm installing larger springs so I can take off everything again and then install these, and the car will probably sit around 3 to 4 centimeters higher, which is always a good thing.
Oh my god. Fresh. Fresh.
It doesn't really show in the video, but lifting a Volvo 240 on 235, 70s, 15s is a lot of work. it's worth it because the car looks absolutely awesome. And at the moment there is no tire up, which is absolutely awesome. But if you want to do it the easy way, get yourself a bit smaller tires and those will fit like a charm without too much work. But if you want this look, which I absolutely love, then you should get those big ass tires with the biggest lift you can get. And yeah, it's probably 1 to 1.5 days of work. Go to lukecarmods.com and type in Volvo 240 lift kit, and then you can order either the spacers or the entire kit with the welded struts. If you live in the USA or somewhere else outside of Europe, yes, I ship worldwide. But keep in mind, the struts are pretty heavy and expensive to ship. If you only order the spacers, shipping won't be that much and you can let someone else lengthen your struts. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.